My husband looked up from his phone, completely calm, as if he was about to say something ordinary. "We need to talk about Christmas dinner," he said. I smiled, still wrapping gifts at the table. "Sure. What about it?" He hesitated for half a second. "Just half." And then he said it. "My ex is coming. And your ex too." I froze. The tape slipped from my fingers. The room suddenly felt smaller, louder, hotter. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" I asked, laughing nervously, hoping I misheard him. He sighed. "Your ex, Daniel. He'll be here for Christmas dinner." My heart dropped into my stomach. Daniel. The man who broke me. The man who disappeared when I needed him most. The man whose name I hadn't said out loud in years. I stood up slowly. "You invited my ex to our Christmas dinner?" I said, my voice shaking. My husband, Mark, rubbed his temples. "It's complicated." "No. Isnapa. It's not complicated. It's insane." He tried to explain. Daniel had fallen on hard times. No family. No place to go. It was Christmas. "And you thought the best idea was to bring him here?" I said. "To our home." Mark looked at me seriously. "You always talk about forgiveness. About healing. About growth." I laughed bitterly. Forgiveness doesn't mean reopening wounds. He didn't argue. He just said quietly, "Please. Just one dinner." I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to say no. But instead, I nodded. Not because I agreed, but because I had no idea what was coming next either. If you're already feeling the tension, pause for a moment. Take a breath. And if stories like this pull you in, make sure you like and subscribe because this one is only just beginning. Christmas Eve arrived faster than I expected. The house smelled like cinnamon and roasted turkey. The tree glowed softly in the corner. Everything looked perfect. But inside me, nothing was calm. At 6:58 p.m., the doorbell rang. My heart raced. Mark opened the door. And there he was. Daniel, older, thinner, eyes tired. The confident smile he once wore was gone. For a second, neither of us spoke. "Hi," he said softly. I didn't answer. I just stared at him. Memories crashing into me all at once. The nights I cried. The promises he broke. The future he walked away from. Mark cleared his throat. "Comein." Dinner was unbearable. Forks clinked. Silence stretched. Every word felt dangerous. Daniel finally looked at me and said, "I didn't know if you'd want me here." I met his eyes. "You're right. I don't." The table went quiet. Mark looked uncomfortable, but Daniel nodded. "I deserve that," he said. I wanted him to fight back, to defend himself. But he didn't. Halfway through dinner, Daniel stood up. "I need to say something," he said. My chest tightened. "If this is an apology," I said, "save it." He swallowed hard. "It's not just an apology." Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a letter. My name was written on the front. My hands trembled as I opened it. And as I read the first line, everything I thought I knew changed forever. "Before I tell you what that letter said, remember this. Sometimes the past comes back not to hurt you, but to reveal the truth you were never told. If you're still listening, you're exactly where you need to be." My hands shook as I unfolded the letter. The room disappeared. The first line stopped my breath. "I never left because I stopped loving you. I left because someone made sure I had no choice." I looked up at Daniel, my heart pounding. "What is this?" I whispered. He didn't sit down. He didn't smile. He just stood there, hands clenched, eyes wet. "Please," he said quietly. "Read it all." Mark shifted in his seat. "Daniel, what are you doing?" Daniel ignored him. I kept reading. The words felt heavy, painful, too honest to be fake. He wrote about the night he disappeared. The night I waited for hours. The night my life cracked open. "I thought you chose to leave me, but I was threatened. I was lied to, and I was told you would never forgive me if you knew the truth." My chest tightened. Threatened by who? I flipped the page. And then I saw the name. Mark. My husband. The room spun. I laughed once, sharp and broken. "This isn't funny," I said. Mark stood up fast. "This is ridiculous." Daniel's voice shook, but he didn't stop. He told me you were pregnant. He said you lost the baby and blamed me. He said if I ever came near you again, he'd destroy what was left of my life. Silence. The kind that hurts your ears. I turned to Mark slowly. That's a lie, he said quickly. He's manipulating you. My hands dropped to my stomach. Pregnant? I had never been pregnant. Why would you tell him that? I asked, my voice barely there. Mark opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Daniel continued. I believed him. I hated myself. I left town. I drank. I spiraled. I thought I had ruined you. Tears streamed down my face. Every heartbreak. Every sleepless night. Every year I spent blaming myself. Built on a lie. Mark finally exploded. You were weak, he shouted at Daniel. You ran away. Daniel stepped forward. No. You were afraid she'd choose me. I felt something inside me break open. Is it true? I asked Mark. He didn't answer. That was the answer. I backed away from the table. My knees felt weak. You let me grieve something that never happened, I said. You let me think I wasn't enough. Mark reached for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. If this story is making your heart race, stay with me. Like the video and subscribe, because what happens next is the moment everything changes. I locked myself in the bedroom. I sat on the floor and cried like I hadn't in years. Not because of Daniel, but because of the life I thought I chose. An hour passed. A knock came at the door. It wasn't Mark. It was Daniel. I'm leaving in the morning, he said softly through the door. I didn't come to ruin your marriage. I just couldn't live with the lie anymore. I opened the door. We stood there, two people frozen in time. I loved you, he said. I never stopped. I nodded, tears falling. I loved the person I thought you were, I said. But I built a new life. He smiled sadly. I see that now. Mark stood at the end of the hallway, watching. Broken. Exposed. And afraid. That night I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, realizing something terrifying. The past didn't come back to steal my future. It came back to show me the truth. And the truth was louder than love. Morning came quietly. The kind of quiet that only follows a long night of truth. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, touching the floor like it was afraid to wake me. I sat at the edge of the bed, holding the letter in my hands again. Every word still burned. Not because it hurt, but because it finally made sense. I walked into the kitchen. Mark was sitting at the table, staring at nothing. He looked older, smaller, like a man whose secrets finally weighed more than his excuses. I didn't plan for it to go this far, he said without looking up. I poured myself coffee. You planned to lie, I said calmly. And lies always go far. He stood up. I loved you, he said. I met his eyes. No, I said. You loved controlling the story. His face fell. Daniel was already by the door. A small bag at his feet. He looked at me waiting. Not hoping. Just waiting. I'm leaving town today, he said. This chapter ends here. I nodded. I know. Mark stepped forward. You can't just walk away, he said to Daniel. Daniel looked at him. I walked away once because of you, he said. This time, I'm walking away for her. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not love. Not regret. Closure. Daniel turned to me. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just wanted you to know the truth. I stepped closer. You gave me something more important, I said. You gave me my past back. We hugged. Not the kind of hug that restarts a story. The kind that finally finishes one. Daniel left. The door closed. And for the first time in years, I felt peace instead of confusion. Mark sat down slowly. What happens now? He asked. I took a deep breath. This, I said, is where honesty begins. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply told him the truth. That love without trust is fear wearing a mask. That forgiveness doesn't mean staying. That Christmas wasn't ruined. It was revealed. That night, I packed a bag. Not in anger. In clarity. I moved into my sister's place the next morning. People asked questions. I didn't explain everything. I didn't need to. Months passed. I healed. I went to therapy. I learned something powerful. Sometimes God removes people from your life not because they are bad, but because they are blocking the truth. I never went back to Daniel. And I never went back to Mark. Because the lesson wasn't about choosing between two men. It was about choosing myself. If you're listening to this and facing a truth you've been avoiding, hear this clearly. The past doesn't come back to destroy you. It comes back to free you. And freedom always begins with honesty. If this story moved you, take a second to like the video. Subscribe for more real, emotional stories that heal and inspire. And remember this. The bravest thing you can do is walk away from a lie, even if you once called it love.